And I said, so you skip processes. And that gets you into trouble. Yeah. And I said, so you came back and then your parents confronted you about where you had been and you lied. And she goes, I did. And I said, and then when you finally decided to tell them the truth about being raped, you left out India. You left out all kinds of important details, but told them the truth about being raped. And then you now believe that they don't believe you. So you're hurt even more. And I said, your parents listened to you. They just didn't respond. And she went, okay. She goes, I don't get that. And I said, well, you told them and they did listen, but you don't think they did because they didn't respond. And she goes, do you think you could explain more to me about that? Because I think that's the purpose of my call. I don't understand where my parents are at with me and what I've told them. And I said, yeah. I said, your mom and dad went to therapy. And she was like, what? And I said, well, your mom and dad went to therapy way back when you disappeared because you became a missing person, honey. They called the police. Like, you were a missing person. And she was like, no, I was alive. I was in India. I was fine. And I said, they didn't know that. You were a missing person. And I said, so your parents went through the fact that you might be dead. And she was like, oh, come on. And I said, no, you were a missing person. Everything went through their mind, sweetheart. Everything. And I said, so you came back. You don't explain anything. You attack them when they ask questions. And I said, and in the past, your mom sided with you. She tried to be the one that believed in you and supported you, but it put a rift between her and your dad. So they went to therapy. And I said, and you need to hear something. They went to 2 separate therapists because they were looking at getting a divorce. So your dad went on his own, your mom went on her own. And eventually the 2 therapists convinced them that they should pick one of them or a new therapist and go together. So keep their 2 separate therapists and keep going, but also find someone or both or whatever, but come up with a plan where they could get therapy and go together. And that's what they did. And I said, and they got tools. So now they're a couple. They're a couple, honey. And I said, so what they're doing is they heard you. They're in shock. They don't know if they're supposed to believe it or not because they don't know what to do. So they're going to go to the therapist and they're going to present it all to the therapist individually and together to say, what do we do to find out if this is true or not? Would somebody lie about something like this? They don't even know if somebody could or would.